So let's talk about reacquiring your own brand. I'd really like to hear about that story before we get into all your background, because I do want to get into your background as well. But was that a bit of a kind of a surreal experience to have this brand that you spent so much time taking from zero to $100 million in sales? And I think it's changed hands a couple times, and now you're bringing it back into the fold. What has that experience been like first? And then second, where do you see the opportunities for that brand, right? Like, what is different about taking a brand that exists, and has existed for a long time versus taking something from scratch? I'd love to start there.
Well, it's a dream. I would have never thought a brand that I built from my head and sold in its 13th year. And actually sold it to Amway, who then sold it to Shiseido.
Yep.
But have watched it all along, and it's just for any entrepreneur. It is a challenge to watch someone else own your brand. And so it never entered my mind it would be available. Shiseido decided to sell three brands. We were notified last March 2021, they were selling Bare Minerals, Laura Mercier, and Buxom. And I think when they called me and told me that, I couldn't believe it. But it happened. It all worked out. Obviously, we did a tremendous amount of work, and Shiseido was great. And we bought it. And seriously, we just got it December 6th, even though we announced it, I think, at the end of August. So it's a complicated deal, a carve out. I've never done a carve out, totally different experience, but I'm beyond excited.
What's the idea behind purchasing these brands? Is this meant to be the start of a platform? Is this really just about owning these three brands and helping them to grow? And what do you think, like, why do you think you guys are positioned to help them be successful?
Well, I'm very impressed with how Advent was thinking of this, and that is we hired Pascal Houdier, who will be the CEO of these three brands. So these
Yep.
three brands now will be its own company, and he'll have a very strong team of a CMO, CFO, etc. And right now, our goal is just to get them all at a great place. They're brands with terrific history and authentic stories. We want to make sure that's showing. And in the case of Laura Mercier, we're totally true to the history of the brand, what it was built on, which is top quality product. That's been our number one thing. Focus on the face. Flawless face is sort of what we used because Laura Mercier was known for, although you need great skincare if you really want to change how you look on your face, the skin on your face. She was terrific. And if you need to go out tonight, we had we have the right products to help you and the right training. So those are the key things. We will be true to the brand, and I'm very excited about it.
Have they been experiencing, so you talk about kind of, if you want to go out tonight, and obviously the pandemic's played a really big role in whether or not people are going out at all. And I know that from the data that we saw in 2020, 2021, people were just talking about makeup a lot less, right? And so how have they kind of worked through that? And are they seeing the same kind of resurgence? We've heard there's a resurgence in makeup. Are they seeing the same kind of thing in the second half of this year? Or is it still to come?
Well, kind of both. Makeup was hurting even pandemic. Skincare and hair care were the categories that were really experiencing great growth. But we are seeing in at the end of 2021 some great results. So I would say, and Laura Mercier just launched at Ulta. It had been at Sephora exclusively for like 15 years. So there's still lots of room for growth. It's very much a global company and always did well in Asia. And Flawless Face really resonates in Asia, probably the reason Shiseido was interested. And
Yep.
they have done a particularly good job, Laura Mercier in Asia, just launched in China in September.
How is the Chinese launch going?
It's going well. I mean, it's really going well. And actually, in our carving out's very complicated, but they're going to run that for 2 years, Asia and Laura Mercier, while we build up with Pascal.
And actually, it's funny you bring it back to Pascal. I'd love to hear about, were you involved in that selection process for him? What was the criteria you guys were looking for in terms of bringing on an outside CEO to help run it? Like, what is it about him that made him kind of the right fit?
He had done a carve out. This is a very
Mhm.
complicated. I'm used to building a company, a solo company, and selling it 100% to a strategic.
Yep.
He has done a carve out. He did a carve out for Hinkle, really with from Shiseido with hair products.
Hmm.
So he has the kind of expertise. He has a great background from Procter and Gamble, and we really need someone who understands the nuances of a carve out, which is a very different. So I think that's that was one of the key things to help Pascal get this job, and he's very excited about it. So
Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense, right? Because within these larger conglomerates, if you're not the biggest or you're not the hottest or you're not the one that's like centered in the physical location of the headquarters, you can often not get the same attention that you would if it was an independent entity, right?
so true.
Yeah.
That's why we think these brands have so much potential. They all are of size. Well, Buxom is a small company, but both Bear and Laura Mercier are sizable brands.
Yep.
So we just have to go in and look at each one in detail and see what is it? Is it product? Is it social? What do we do to elevate it to hopefully double their businesses?